Well, absolute heartbreak in Philadelphia's Strawberry Mansion section. A fire kills a pregnant woman as well as her two children. We've also learned that a 55-year-old woman and another child were injured. CBS Philadelphia's Ray Strickland joins us with the latest developments.
It just don't even seem real. Like, I still feel like, oh, this is a twilight, like it's a dream.
A heartbroken family member of the victim still in disbelief that 3 of her loved ones are now gone. She confirmed the victims in the fire were 6-year-old Assad, 4-year-old Alea, and their mother, Ashley Thompson, who was 7 months pregnant.
I don't know how to feel. I just know Ashley was a great mother and to her kids, and she just wanted to get out of there. She just wanted to move. We was about to move.
China, who did not want to reveal her last name, says her cousin was excited to have her baby, telling us the two recently went shopping for baby clothes. China also says she lived in the home with Thompson and her kids, but left Thursday night before the fire.
I'm thinking that I'm going to come back home this morning. Me and Ashley are about to go downtown and go get some more baby clothes because that's what we already had planned.
The Philadelphia Fire Department responded to the home in the 2500 block of Corley Street just before 5 in the morning. The fire department says 2 people were also injured in the blaze. A 55-year-old woman holding a 1-year-old who narrowly escaped the fire when she jumped from a second-floor window. The 2 are now recovering in the hospital.
They say home is where the heart is, but for Ashley Thompson, her home became her tomb, burnt alive, her unborn child, her 2 little ones, all gone. And the person accused of striking the match? Family. You are watching Black Girl Lost, where we don't just tell true crime stories, we tell her story. The ones the system tried to erase, the ones the headlines never fully explain. Subscribe to bring more attention to stories that matter, like if you believe Black women deserve protection. Comment your thoughts as you watch. Your voice helps bring justice home for Ashley Thompson, at 32 years old, was a cozy row home in Philadelphia's Strawberry Mansion neighborhood, specifically on North Corley Street. This was not just a place, it was the heart of her world. She was a loving mother, vibrant and full of life, a woman whose joy was obvious to anyone who saw her with her kids. 6-year-old Assad, bright and always asking questions, had just celebrated his kindergarten graduation, all proud smiles in his cap and gown. Then there was Alaya, her 4-year-old, a whirlwind of playful energy and giggles that filled every room. And soon, there would be another. Ashley was 8 months pregnant, eagerly counting down the days until she could hold her 3rd child. Her days were a beautiful blur of crayons, storybooks, and endless games. You would find her laughing along with Assad and Alaya, their small voices echoing through the house. She spent quiet moments, a soft smile on her face, gently folding tiny baby clothes, imagining the newest member of their family. Friends and family didn't just say it, they lived it. Ashley's children were her joy, her very purpose, the light that made so many lives around them brighter. She had simple hopes, really, dreams for her growing family, for their future together right there in that Philadelphia home, a new job, perhaps a little more space, but mostly just the promise of more days filled with their laughter. Think about the last time you felt truly hopeful about your future. How quickly can it all change? The house on North Corley Street wasn't just Ashley's, it was a hub for family. Besides Ashley and her children, 6-year-old Assad and 4-year-old Alaya, her aunt Sherry Jackson, a woman of 54, also lived there with her 2-year-old niece. Then there was Flight Newell, a 44-year-old woman. Flight was Sherry's sister, which made her Ashley's aunt too. She seemed like a familiar, supportive part of the bigger family picture. Think of those Sunday dinners, the clatter of plates, the easy laughter filling the rooms, or the summer barbecues out back, kids running wild, the adults swapping stories and advice. These were the moments that painted the picture of a normal family, tight-knit, relying on each other. It was the kind of family where you felt safe, surrounded by people who had known you your whole life. You just assumed that safety would always be there, a quiet comfort in the background. Family photos from those times show smiling faces, arms wrapped around each other, oblivious to the hidden currents, the deep undercurrents that sometimes run through the closest relationships. It felt like home, a place of unquestioned belonging. This quiet sense of comfort, this assumed safety, began to fray Ashley's beloved grandmother, the family matriarch, passed away. Her death was a heavy blow, a loss felt deeply by everyone. But with her passing came the reading of her will, and what was revealed sent a ripple through the family. A substantial inheritance was laid out, a significant sum, and a large portion was specifically designated for Ashley and her children. For Ashley, this wasn't just money. It was a promise. It was the stability she dreamed of for her growing family, a chance to truly build the future she envisioned. You could almost feel the weight lift from her shoulders, replaced by a quiet excitement, a sense of relief. But as Ashley took in the news, absorbing the life-changing implications, another set of eyes watched. Flight Newell, her aunt, was there. Her face at first held a forced smile, a polite acknowledgement. That small, unsettling shift in the air grew larger as Flight Newell's behavior began to change. It started subtly. She was around Ashley's house on North Corley Street more often, her visits feeling less like casual stops and more like careful inspections. She would ask about the inheritance, not in a curious way, but with pointed questions, offering what she called advice on how Ashley should manage the money, sometimes even suggesting how it should really be split. Then came the little comments, dismissive remarks about Ashley's parenting choices, or veiled jabs at her ability to handle such a large sum. Ashley felt it, a growing unease she couldn't quite name. She tried to shake it off, telling herself these were just family quirks, and her aunt was just looking out for her in her own way. But deep down, a quiet alarm began to sound. Something felt off, a sourness creeping into what should have been a sweet time. Have you ever ignored a red flag from family because you wanted to believe the best? Soon the veiled suggestions turned into direct confrontations. The arguments over the inheritance became more frequent, the whispers around the family turning into shouted words. Flight Newell allegedly made it clear she felt she was more deserving, that Ashley was not fit to manage that kind of money. Neighbors on the 2500 block of North Corley Street began to hear the raised voices, the slamming doors. The volume and intensity of these disputes grew, chipping away at the fragile peace of the home. The family bond, once so solid, was straining under the weight of greed, pulling apart at the seams. Then came the threats. Flight Newell's words allegedly became more direct, though still cloaked in a way that left Ashley uneasy. "You'll regret this," she said. "You don't know who you're dealing with." Hints of unseen consequences hanging in the air. Ashley confided in a close friend, trying to explain the fear that was tightening in her chest, but she often downplayed the seriousness. After all, it was family. Who would truly believe a relative could wish harm? This made it harder for Ashley to seek outside help, to truly voice the fear that was closing in around her. She found herself increasingly isolated, a creeping sense of dread settling over her, a feeling of being caught, trapped, as the conflict deepened. Would you have reported that threat, even if it came from family? The clock ticked towards the early morning hours of June 13th, 2025. Inside the Strawberry Mansion home, most were asleep. It was a normal house on a normal street, the 2500 block of North Corley's. Just before 5 a.m., that false calm shattered. A sudden crackle, then a low roar began inside the row home. Smoke, thick and fast, started to fill the air, followed by the terrifying sound of flames. The screams. Neighbors began to stir, then frantic shouts as they saw the heavy smoke and fire pouring from the windows. The calls to 911 flooded in. First responders arrived to find the house fully engulfed, a raging inferno. Firefighters battled the blaze, desperate to get inside, to find anyone trapped. Amidst the chaos, a 54-year-old woman, Sherry Jackson, Ashley's aunt, managed to jump from a second-floor window, clutching a 2-year-old child in her arms. They both survived, but were hurt. The raw terror of a life-threatening fire ripped through the quiet street. When the fire was finally put out, the devastating truth emerged. Ashley Thompson, 32 years old and 8 months pregnant, was found deceased on the second floor of what was left of her home. Her 2 children, 6-year-old Assad Thompson and 4-year-old Aliyah Thompson Newell, were pulled from a second-floor bedroom, rushed to the hospital, but they couldn't be saved. They died from their injuries. The Philadelphia Fire Marshal's official statement was a punch to the gut. This fire was deliberately set. The grief was immediate and overwhelming, a heavy blanket covering the surviving family and the entire Strawberry Mansion community. Homicide detectives and federal ATF investigators arrived, their meticulous work beginning amidst the blackened, wet rubble, a canine unit dog signaling on the front steps, confirming what everyone feared.
Yeah, I just spoke to the fire marshal who confirmed they're looking at this as arson. They believe this house fire that killed 3 people, including a pregnant woman, was intentionally set. Meanwhile, you can see out here PGW crews, they are continuing to work on the home. They just boarded the home up. As that work continues, it's now up to police to find out who did this and why.
I'm hurt. I don't know. It don't even feel real. It's still, I just left out the house and seen her and everybody yesterday.
Grief and disbelief overwhelming family members of those who died in the early morning Strawberry Mansion fire. Officials saying the flames started before 5 a.m. and consumed the home quickly. Neighbors saying there was barely any time for those inside to escape.
Yeah, it was very fast. I mean, we looked out the window, it was already engulfed in flames. By the time my husband came downstairs, she had already jumped out the window. And there was no going back in to help anybody else.
The woman who jumped in the hospital in critical but stable condition, according to family.
She managed to save the 1-year-old.
The child she rescued being treated for minor injuries. The remaining 3 people inside, identified by family as Ashley Thompson, who was 7 months pregnant, and her 2 children, Aliyah and Assad, all passed away.
Innocent kids. My nephew just graduated yesterday. Aside, that little boy, he just graduated yesterday.
As the family grieved and prayed, officials from the fire department, police, and ATF investigated the cause of the fire, using accelerant-sniffing dogs who kept leading detectives to the front steps where they focused their investigation.
The chilling realization settled in. This was no accident. This was a deliberate act. Share this video if you believe every family deserves safety within their own home. The charred remains of the home on North Corley Street became a grim puzzle. Arson investigators and homicide detectives worked tirelessly, sifting through the blackened rubble. Every piece of debris was examined, every corner searched for clues. They found traces of accelerants, substances used to make fire spread faster. Their focus narrowed quickly. Family members, especially Flight Newell and 67-year-old Charles Sumter, came under intense scrutiny. Their initial stories, their alibis, began to fall apart when questioned. It also came to light that Flight Newell had even posted a Facebook Live video where she spoke about murder.
Ooh, that red rum, Mrs. Kaiser, red rum, ooh, that red rum.
The evidence mounted. Phone records, witness statements, and the alleged financial motive, all tied to that inheritance dispute, began to form a clear picture. Flight Newell and Charles Sumter had been interviewed on the very day of the fire, June 13, 2025. But it was not until June 25, 2025, after police served a search warrant at a home on the 2800 block of West Albert Street, that the arrests were made.
Developing tonight, we're learning more about the 2 suspects accused of setting a deadly row house fire in Strawberry Mansion earlier this month. A pregnant woman and her 2 young children died. Police sources now sharing the alleged motive behind the arson with our Steve Keeley.
They was our family. It's neighbors, but at the end of the day, they family. That's what we do. We treat each other like family on this block.
Neighbors learned today it may have been a family squabble over this house. That may have been the motive for the arson turned multiple murder. They also learned the identities of the 2 accused of starting the fire. 44-year-old Flight Newell and 67-year-old Charles Sumter. Does it make you feel any better that 2 people were arrested for this?
Yeah, because I feel better if they arrested because I feel like it was bad for them to take their lives like that, especially little babies.
That don't make it no better because their lives is gone. But I'm glad they caught him, though.
Philadelphia police sources say the oldest survivor of the fire here, the 54-year-old grandmother who leapt with a 2-year-old in her arms from a window, is the sister of the woman charged and believed to be battling over inheriting the row house. Hearing that there's arrest made, does that bring any relief to you? Does it make it any better?
It do, but they don't bring them back. That's a good thing. That you got somebody that did something so, like, simple-minded, evil, off the streets, but at the end of the day, can't bring them kids back, so.
Today we remember Ashley Thompson. We remember Assad. We remember Aliyah. Their faces, once full of life, laughter, and bright futures, now exist in photographs. Pictures that were once bursting with color, vibrant with their everyday joy, now feel like echoes. Yet, even in the quiet of these images, we can see the laughter, the promises of birthday parties, graduations, and first loves that will never be. This story, the story of Ashley and her children, shows us the crushing impact of greed, the pain of betrayal, and the deep damage violence can cause within a family. It's a hard truth to face, but sometimes the greatest danger doesn't come from outside. Sometimes the person who hurts you most is someone you thought you could trust completely. Ashley's story is also a part of a bigger, harder conversation. It shines a light on how often violence against Black women goes unnoticed or isn't talked about enough. How sometimes the systems meant to protect us fall short, leaving people vulnerable. It reminds us of how important it is to pay attention to those gut feelings, those little warnings, even when they come from the people closest to us. It takes real courage to acknowledge those red flags and to act on them. Ashley Thompson deserved to raise her children. Assad and Aliyah deserved to grow up, to live out their innocent lives. Their futures, their laughter, their very existence were burnt away, not by accident, but by a chilling act of betrayal. This wasn't just a fire. It was an extinguishing of a future, a family, a legacy. Ashley and her babies cried out for help that day. Now it's our turn to speak for them. Like this video if you believe Ashley and her babies deserve justice that rings loud and clear. Leave a comment below with what you think justice should look like here. Share this story, because awareness is the first step toward change. And subscribe to help us amplify the voices of those who can no longer speak for themselves. We owe it to Ashley. We owe it to every Black woman whose story demands to be heard. Let their memory fuel our fight.